Hey guys, Andrew here with ThruFit. Thank you for tuning in. Today's video, the basics of hormonal optimization. Now, before I get into the topic, I want to make it clear here that I know there's a lot of people with certain hormonal issues that are on certain protocols or medications, and I want to make it clear that this video is not specifically for those people, but it's essentially for everybody that is wanting to optimize your hormonal production, and this could go hand in hand for people that are either on a protocol or not. I just want to cover the basics for achieving essentially optimal health. And I broke it down into 4 categories. So let's jump into it. Number 1, managed stress. Now this one's a pretty big no-brainer, but it's something that has to be taken into account very largely because stress has major implications on what kind of hormones you'll be producing and the downstream effects of if you're producing something like too much cortisol or too much adrenaline, and how it will be stunting other hormones that are beneficial that you want elevated. So what sources of stress am I talking about? Well, stress comes in many shapes and forms. I listed here relationships, work, activity levels. This one's huge because a lot of people think that training 4, 5, 6 times a week is actually beneficial. I think it's not sustainable, especially the older you get. I don't think any achievable result is necessary to be in the gym killing yourself 5 to 6 times a day, and it often gets overlooked. But I'll talk about that in a little bit later. Other sources of stress: artificial light, non-native electromagnetic fields, especially when people are trying to go to sleep. They get many sleep disturbances because they're exposing themselves to too much blue light before going to bed, sleeping with maybe a Wi-Fi router nearby or their phone nearby. Another thing I put is phone scrolling. And this is a huge issue with people. I don't think people realize the amount of stress that phone scrolling has on just your overall stress levels. But if you think about it, the more you scroll, the more information you're intaking, the more exhausted your brain is going to be with just information overload. You're being exposed to so much stuff. So phone scrolling is another big one, and finances. So that's just, I think, 6 topics of stress. I'm sure you guys can think of a lot more, but I want to make it very clear, managing stress is going to be vital for achieving optimal hormonal health. Number 2, very basic, sleep. I recommend 7 to 9 hours, and generally getting to bed before 10 p.m. Sometimes if you can get to bed to 9:30, for me personally, I notice a lot better energy when I wake up in the morning, but 10 p.m. is sufficient. But make sure you're getting optimal sleep, which brings me to number 3, diet. I'm not going to get too big into diet. If you've been following my channel, you know I like a pretty balanced diet of getting enough plant foods, getting enough animal foods, and not stressing about it too much. You just want to make sure they're high quality foods that you're eating, nutrient dense, balanced plants and animals, making sure it's anti-inflammatory. I know a lot of people consume foods that are very inflammatory. So maybe you get a food panel done, find out which foods you don't handle well, or strive to, getting your digestive system back to where you can handle foods. I know a lot of people that have problems with dairy, excuse me. A lot of the times I don't think it's the dairy that's the issue as much as it is the digestive system that's compromised and not being able to utilize it, because I think dairy is one of the most beneficial foods that we could be eating from a nutrient standpoint. I don't think there's a food that compares when it comes to covering the bases essentially of all vitamins, minerals, nutrients, macros, micros, everything like that. That's beside the point. Other things here on diet, consistent digestion is going to be very huge. If you're not going to the bathroom at least 1 to 3 times per day, chances are you're going to have some bacterial overgrowth in your digestive system, and this is going to have major implications on hormonal production. And then I kind of tied this into diet as well, is to supplement as needed. I'm not going to jump into any supplements. There's a lot of supplements that I do recommend, but it's going to be very individual dependent, but you want to make sure what you're taking is right for you, which leads me to number 4, which is healthy activities. I don't think this gets stressed enough as well. Healthy activities can range from many things: weightlifting, walking, having fun, going out, being social. Sometimes I like to go out and have a couple drinks. I know a lot of people think drinking is the worst thing you can do. But I think if you're doing it in a sense to where you're being responsible, you're not consuming too much, going out, having a good time can have major benefits for just mental health, your hormonal health, everything in between. So I don't stress it too much if I'm drinking once or twice a week, but I make sure I do it when I'm in a good mind space and I'm doing it to have a good time. Sun exposure is huge, not just the vitamin D standpoint, but A lot of other hormones are really impacted by sun exposure. Taking vacations, trying new things, whether you have a spouse or something, you want to try a new activity, whether it's dancing, some kind of outdoor activity, whatever it is, trying new things is really cool because it helps bring new neural patterns in your brain and kind of stimulates a lot of hormones in your body. So those are just some activities that I personally like to do and recommend people to do to optimize hormonal production. I'm sure there's a lot of activities out there that you can think of that are beneficial for you, but make sure you're doing healthy activities on a weekly basis and make it a priority, because I think a lot of people get too caught up in work and finances and everything that they forget to, let loose a little bit, have a good time, and do things that you enjoy, because those are going to have major implications on hormonal production. So that's it. I'll go over the 4 again: manage stress, sleep, diet, and healthy activities. I try to keep it as basic as possible. I'm sure there's other things that can play a major role in hormonal production. And if you have any questions or comments about them, feel free to drop them below. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Drew_fit. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.